Dhamma Talks by Mogok Sayadaw. 7th to the 8th of October 1961. Why so much sufferings? Tape 1. Which way is the quickest way to end tanha? With tanha ends arriving at nibbana. Contemplation of feelings, vedanas, is the quickest way to end tanha or dukkha. If I have to talk about nibbana, there is no need to carry around the khandha burdens, and no feeding and cleansing of its bitterness, dukkhas. Thus, there is no quest for wealth and property, power. There is no suffering of remaining in someone else's womb, birth. There is no suffering, dukkha, caused by disease. There is also no dukkha of relying on others during sickness, and no dukkha of sorrow, lamentation, pain and grief at near death, seeing signs of unwholesomeness with painful destinations and attachment to wealth and family members. Why I have to exhort you every day is because I want you to die with a smile. Sayadaw mentioned the terrible dying moment and painful situations. The Buddha himself was warning us 32 times in his life, don't be heedless, practice diligently until your bones and flesh are worn out, and your blood is dried up. The wealth and possessions, powers, which you earned cannot even stop the dying sickness and disease. The truly reliable thing is only maganga, the path factors. Mentioned the sufferings of hells. This is not like the mythology of God and creation. With Dharma practice, one can find it out by oneself. Canny meditation develops light nimitta which can discern the 31 realms of existence. There are 2 books that I know of that mention the yogi's experiences about these realms. The strange thing is most of the world religions accept the existence of hells. You don't need to spend money for it, you only have to use your nana. Only have to nod your head at what the khandha is telling you. There is no khandha that does not talk about their stories. Sayadaw told about Sacca, king of the 33 gods in the Kulatanasankaya Sutta number 37, Majjhima N. If Vedana arises, you have to observe whether it's still there or not. You'll have the path factors if you discern it not there anymore. You insert the knowledge of seeing the dissolution of Vedana. Then the feeling conditions that tanha does not arise, Vedana right pointing arrow tanha. The Buddha gave the instruction to Sacca. The knowledge which discerns the dissolution comes in and cuts off the process. Vedana pakaya tanha is the Pali words which refer to people not doing vipassana, feeling conditions tanha. Vedana pakaya panna, feeling conditions wisdom is someone discerning anicca. Tanha disappears by discerning anicca. Vedana nirodha tanha nirodho. With the cessation of feeling, tanha, craving, ceases. If you can make feeling cease, it becomes path factors. The task of no sympathy to oneself is business matters, but the task of practicing the path is having sympathy for oneself. Therefore, in the world, there are more people who have no sympathy for themselves. This is not an exaggeration. The Buddha himself admonished us as the permanent homes of living beings are the 4 woeful planes of existence. Tape 2. Where does tanha stay? It's at one's khandha. You want the khandha to be good. Therefore, tanha will be cut off if you kill feelings. This is a very important point. If you want tanha to die, then contemplate feelings. Discerning the impermanence of feelings and tanha will die. Retold the Sacca's story. You have to note that whatever suffering in the world is given by tanha. With more riches or wealth, there is more dukkha. You have to work more than others, and also endure more than others. Therefore, with more tanha, there will be more sufferings. If you have more, you have more suffering. With little, you have little suffering. With nothing, you have no suffering. This is the saying of the Tibetan yogi Milarepa. But humans want or crave more and have no limitations. If the gods rain down precious jewels from the sky, they are still discontent, especially politicians and economists. Their slogan is power and more money. Money, money. And the world becomes crazy. The human world is full of suffering, and after death, one goes to hell. Do you have any profits? You're seeking suffering for yourselves. Is it clear? If I do not explain to you, all these things are inspiring, nourishing Tanha and Dukkha, and then you will expect sufferings. Fools teach people to become fools, blindness leads to darkness. Here Sayadaw's talk becomes humorous. All the sufferings come from Tanha. Where is Tanha coming from? It's from feelings. Let us insert path factors between feelings and Tanha. Becoming a Buddha is not under the Bodhi tree, but between Vedana and Tanha. Any Buddha is found here. Becoming a Sotapanna to Arahant is also found here. Asking you to contemplate your mind also includes Vedana. Mind and feeling are Sampayutta Dhamma, phenomena associated together. They are like fire and light, which arise together. Mind and feeling arise together. Contemplate it as you prefer. There are two happiness, Sukha, of mind and body. Sayadaw gave worldly examples for them. There are two Dukkhas, sufferings, of mind and body. Sayadaw gave examples for them. There are two states of neither Sukha nor Dukkha of mind and body, i.e., Upekkha. Sayadaw gave examples. Check the Kalatanasangkaya Sutta. Tanha ceases by contemplating feelings. With Tanha dying, Dukkha ceases. If you're praying for becoming a human being, it is the same as, let me run from aging to sickness and from sickness to death. So silly. The Khandha is proving this to you. Knowledge can arise following the anicca of feelings. If you are discerning anicca, you arrive at the halfway point of the journey. Vedana is abandoned by discerning the anicca of Vedana. Since Vedana is one of the Khandhas, this also means abandoning Khandhas. Tanha also cannot follow because it involves the abandoning of Tanha. You must remember that vipassana practice is the task of abandoning both Khandha and Tanha. The abandonment of Khandha is the ending of Dukkha. The abandonment of Tanha is the ending of the cause, condition, of Dukkha. Vipassana is highly beneficial, and vipassana knowledge testifies to this point. The explanation of the 12 links as representing 3 lives' time is valid. Dhamma Talks by Mogok Sayadaw. The 9th of October 1961. Noble Dhamma and Wrong Dhamma. Whenever a Buddha appears, he will teach it only once. It's difficult to hear this talk by human beings, referred to Devadutta Sutta, divine messengers, No. 130 Majjhima N. The Buddha taught us not to forget the noble task. You must turn your knowledge, jnana, towards the Khandha. At other times, your mind is turned towards the outside world. Even when you turn the mind towards the Khandha with the wrong view of me, and sometimes with Tanha, mine, we live with Ditti, Tanha, in turn, and the Da. Process continues. Turning around with it every day that leads to dizziness. Why do Kamma arise controlled by Ditti and clinging with Ditti? It arises because of not putting effort into noble Dhamma, Ariya Dhamma. Sayadaw starts to talk about the Devadutta Sutta. Heedfulness is Ariya Dhamma. Heedlessness is wrong Dhamma, Miccha Dhamma. The 4 painful existences are related to heedless people. This point is very important. Only in the Buddha Dhamma do we have the chance to become heedful people, i.e., Appamada person with Appamada Dhamma. If you discern anicca thoroughly, you will be free from the dangers of apayas. Therefore, practice it carefully. With ignorance, heedlessness, sankhara comes to be. With heedfulness, sankhara does not come to be, and one does not fall into apayas. Sayadaw described the sufferings of hell realms. See the Sutta of Divine Messengers. These are the frightening results of heedlessness. Sayadaw gave the instruction on contemplation of the mind. Observe the first mind, i.e., arising mind, with the following mind, i.e., contemplative mind or path factors mind. You'll see its non-existence, i.e., anicca of the first citta. Dhamma Talks by Mogok Sayadaw. The 10th of October 1961. Why no realization? Vipassana exists only in the Buddha Sasana, and we also encounter it. You also meet a good teacher and continues with your practice diligently. It's sure to lead to achievement. Don't believe what other people say about perfection, paramis, needing to be fulfilled slowly. Don't listen to them. The Buddha also gave us the guarantee for realization within 7 years, 7 months, and 7 days, in the Satipatthana Sutta. Fongyi, Sayadaw, also wants to remind you that within this short period, don't waste your time and energy on matters of family and business. This period can prevent the dangers of aging, sickness, and death, and not falling down to the dangers of apayas. I am worried that you will run out of time with no practice. It's very sad to spoil it. The Buddha warned us of the importance of practice and knowledge, nana, having to fit together. A Dhamma is arising. Contemplate it quickly with nana. According to the Buddha, if you don't separate anicca and nana, you could finish it in 7 days. If your prayers, perfections, are fulfilled by practicing in the morning, you will achieve it in the evening. In this case, why don't we realize it? Because anicca and magga are not fitting together. For this matter, the Buddha taught the Telepata Sutta, Bowl of Oil Discourse, Satipatthana Samyutta, SN.47.20 Janapadakalyana Suttam, at Siddharka, the Beauty Queen, Siddharka Sutta, for us. Sayadaw using his teaching of Cittanupassana to explain this sutta. 13 kinds of mind are like a bowl of oil. You must contemplate anicca whatever arises from the 6 sense doors. Don't let your mind go out anywhere. If it goes outside to the objects of the 5 sensual pleasures, and tanha, craving, upadana, clinging, and kamma, action, will kill you. It's very bad indeed if the mind goes out. If you contemplate feelings, then 3 kinds of feelings are the bowl of oil. Is there any kilesa leaking if anicca and magga are not separated? You'll encounter aging, sickness, and death if you go outside of Satipatthana. It's a victory if you don't go out. This point is very important. The oil not spilled from the bowl means the DA process does not continue. It doesn't apply at other times, only during the time of insight practice. In the beginning of sitting practice, simply breathe in and breathe out. You have to be aware of the breath coming in and going out. If a mind arises, follow it. Follow the breathing in mind and the breathing out mind if nothing else arises. Contemplate feelings in the same way. The bowl of oil is like the contemplating objects. The contemplative knowledge, nana, is the criminal, and the executioner is the DA. Process. Do you have to practice it for a long time? It doesn't have to be. You have to pass through these 2 places, i.e., a bar with many alcoholics and a place with a beautiful dancer with many people. You have to navigate through the knowledge of rise and fall and the knowledge of disenchantment. Rise and fall represent a bar. Disenchantment represents the dancing place. After you navigate through it, you arrive at the place of the path, magga. Note, in the original sutta, a bar with alcoholics is not mentioned. This was Sayadaw's invention. Here we see Sayadawji's creative wisdom. A bar with alcoholics can represent avidya and delusion, not knowing phenomena as it really is, anicca, dukkha, anatta. The beautiful dancer can represent tanha, and passing through represents disenchantment and not wanting it. Tanha's demise is the path, magga. If the mind is moving towards other objects, you must contemplate their anicca. This is like making an adjustment to the bowl of oil when it becomes slightly tilted. This is from the Samyutta Nikaya, the above sutta. I also have to discuss it from the Anguttara Nikaya. During the contemplation of anicca, don't let kilesas interfere, i.e., between anicca and the mind. During the time of disenchantment, also don't let kilesas interfere. The main point in the two suttas is the same: do not let the oil spill and do not let kilesas interfere. At the time of sitting, make the determination, adhitthana, that within 15 minutes or half an hour, you will not let kilesas interfere. After that, gradually increase the time span of sitting. This is wise advice for beginners. Dhamma Talks by Mogok Sayadaw. The 11th of October 1961. Every Buddhist should know. There are two kinds of knowledge. The knowledge of inside and outside sasanas, i.e., two main right views, samma ditthi. When doing dana, giving, charity, if someone takes it as, I do it so I get the result, then sakkaya ditthi, self, atta, is sticking with the merits. The self-view of I and me is interfering with the merits. Although it's right, self-view atta ditthi has combined with it. This is called the taint of the wrong view, ditthasava. In this case, it will give the result inside the province of taint, asavas. This knowledge is called kammasakata nana, and it can't strip off wrong view. Freedom from taints, asavas, is nibbana. Nibbana does not accept the wrong view with it. You have to do merits but with the knowledge of sakkanalomika nana, knowledge in accordance with the truth. This is the knowledge of contemplation with insight into the khandha, knowledge discerning the truth. You have to change your mind to wanting to be free from the impermanence of the truth of dukkha, by giving or making this merit. In this way, both knowledges of kammasakata nana and sakkanalomika nana are included in this merit. It will give the result of vivata nibbana, freedom from rounds of existence, which is nibbana. This is the merit of the Buddha Sasana, never found in any other worldly or faith. You have to make merits with inside contemplation. This is done by dana after stripping off ditthi, the kind of merit that gives the result of nibbana. Every day I am reminding you to pay attention to your khandha with nana, which means giving with sakkanalomika nana. This is the task every Buddhist should know about. It will be beneficial up to nibbana. Continued the Sacca's story on tanha. Tanha is extinguished by contemplating whatever three feelings, sukha, dukkha, and neutral feelings, are arising. At the 6 sense doors, totally 9 kinds of feeling can arise. See the Kalatanasankaya Sutta. With the inside knowledge of right-pointing arrow anicca, after the preceding khandha ceases, seeing its disappearance, and is followed by the ending tanha, upadana, and kamma do not arise. See the 12 links of Da. Therefore, the task of insight is the abandoning of khandha and tanha, at the time of the insight. Alive in the middle with the knowledge, nana. Khandha disappeared, and is alive with knowledge, nana, tanha ceased, no arising. Sayadaw describes it as momentary nibbana. If you have not yet attained nibbana with the practice and are near death, die with anicca by contemplating the khandha. Then at near death, you can realize Dhamma by abandoning the khandha and tanha, upadana, and kamma. In the past, monks and people normally encouraged the dying person to remember the merits she had done before. This is the distant cause. Instead, we have to contemplate the anicca of the khandha. During the contemplation, kilesa has no chance to arise, thus attaining the momentary nibbana. This is not the permanent cessation of tanha. It's the tadanga cessation and attaining the momentary nibbana. Someone with no practice connects to tanha, upadana, and kamma continuously, so samsara is very long. Even with death, I want you to die by attaining momentary nibbana. This person dies by attaining nibbana, for a short period. Don't worry, momentary nibbana is assured. After death, you arrive at Sugati heaven sent by the cause of discerning anicca. This process is the proximity condition, anantara pakkayo, or without delay, i.e., no intermediate state as some Mahayanists believe, such as 49 days, etc. Between the two, no other mind exists. Contemplating knowledge of anicca instantly arises and seeing rise and fall, disenchantment of anicca and the ending of anicca leads to becoming a sotapanna. This was a dying person with momentary nibbana as described by the Buddha, so don't give up the practice. Therefore, you have to try to discern anicca to attain it, at least near death. According to the Buddha, becoming a sotapanna in heaven occurs sooner than the being realizing himself as a devata. The mind process is very quick. In a sutta, there was a practicing monk who died with the practice and instantly became a devata in heaven. But he didn't know that he was there and thought himself as still a monk. This evidence supports the non-existence of an intermediate state. Dying with momentary nibbana here and attaining permanent nibbana there. I am only worried that you don't practice. This is the great benefit of discerning anicca. Sayadaw gave a very simple example of Vedana anicca. You scratch your arm with a finger. You'll find out that after arising, it does not exist. It's arising there and disappearing or vanishing at the same place without changing places. This is insight knowledge, vipassana magga. I'll continue to talk about supramundane knowledge, lokuttara magga. This knowledge abandons khandha and tanha and sees nibbana. The seeing of nibbana is the only thing greater than insight knowledge. If you discern anicas, you have to follow it until its end, no more arising. With anicca, there exists and also there is the existence of its end. You'll not see the abandonment of tanha, i.e., anusaya is extinguished or there is no anusaya. With the ending of anicca, you see that no khandha exists. So, the ending of khandha is nibbana. This is the signpost of the vipassana process. The practitioner himself can know whether he is there or not. Sacca asked the Buddha about the quickest way to nibbana, which transcended the destruction and vanishing of phenomena. Insight knowledge performs 2 duties, while the path knowledge has 3 duties. Dhamma Talks by Mogok Sayadaw. The 15th of October 1961. Importance of knowing oneself. You must see your own mind. There are 2 kinds of seeing, eye-seeing and nana-seeing. The mind is a mind object, dharmaramana, and is never seen with the eyes. You have to take it as nana-seeing. I'm asking you to contemplate the mind which you can see only with nana-seeing. According to Sayadaw, you kandima only achievable with the 4th rupayana or the 3rd bhavanga samadhi. Refer to my translation of right samadhi and right insight. If you're asking me, do I have to contemplate the seeing, the hearing, etc.? You have to follow whatever mind arises with nana-seeing. If the seeing mind arises with the 5 path factors and you discern it, this is the seeing mind of number 1, and this is the contemplating mind of number 2. Observe the number 1 with number 2, which I remind you of. Number 1 arises and passes away. Number 2 is present after number 1 no longer exists. At the time of seeing, number 1 no longer exists. Number 1 not existing is anicca. The seeing number 2 is magga, the path factors. Thus, observe your own mind. How many kinds of minds do you have? You have 13 kinds, for a worldling. There is only one kind arising at any time. Note, for the 13 kinds of mind in Mogok Sayadaw's instruction, see my translation of the reality and the knowing, in part 5. You have to observe without fail whatever arises. You have to practice the vanishing and the magga fitting together, the same as practice to know it does not exist. This point was taught by the Buddha to the monk, Molya Savali as it's visible here and now, Sanditiko. This is how one sees or discerns one's own mind. He knew his mind's nature. This is knowing oneself. It's knowing the nature of the birth and death process. Knowing it as it's not my khandha. Before, we considered it as our khandhas. Now, knowing occurs after arising with causes, and it passes away. We thought this khandha would last for 100 years. Now, it does not last for even a minute. This is how one knows about one's khandha. How penetrative is this knowledge? A person's aggregate, khandha, is always in the midst of suffering, dukkha. Vipassana is observing to discern one's death. When someone sees their own death, do they desire this kind of death? If someone sees their death and tanha dies out, future tanha has died. Will future khandha arise? What is the benefit of seeing one's death? There is only the benefit of future tanha dying. At the moment of contemplation, ditthi also dies. If seeing anicca. So there are two benefits. At present, ditthi dies and the future tanha dies. It's not mine that needs to be vanished. Could you stop it? This is a happy dying Dhamma. The path knowledge has done 3 duties. It kills the preceding ditthi, the following tanha. Also, it prevents ditthi and tanha from leading to apayas which will lead to dukkha khandha in the future, i.e., the future apayas khandha will not arise. Here we should read the above sentence carefully. The path knowledge at the moment of arising, it abandons ditthi tanha of the present. It also eradicates ditthi tanha of anusaya, latent defilements, i.e., eradicates the apaya dukkha existences. It arises by sati and effort, i.e., discerning anicca. Ditthi and future tanha die, which is why I am urging you for contemplation. You have to listen to me with nana ears. To reach nibbana, you have to proceed with nana. Seeing, hearing, thought consciousness, and whatever wholesome and unwholesome minds arise, you must contemplate them. You see your khandha death. Thus, vipassana is observing one's death. Throughout samsara, khandhas arise by ditthi tanha and live with dukkha. Now, through this practice, the next khandha will not arise. Ditthi and tanha fall away. I will explain how avidya falls off. It's also the water root of samsara, associated with tanha. Without the contemplation of insight, you can't discern anicca. Not seeing is avidya. Previously, you didn't see your death. Now, with the act of seeing, avidya ceases and you discern with vijnana. Discerning the death of anicca, which is the right view, ends ignorance. What benefit does insight bring? Wrong view, craving, and ignorance die. Wrong view dies by recognizing that it does not belong to us. Ignorance falls away by discerning one's own death, thus preventing tanha from arising. Therefore, avidya, tanha, and ditthi fall away. According to the Buddha, discerning anicca even once was nobler than building a pagoda, seti, and monastery. Why is that? This Dhamma cuts off samsara, aging, sickness, and death can't arise. So, it's valuable, deep, and profound. I am also able to talk about it so that it becomes clear to you. You all have the perfection, parami, of knowing that much. You'll never think of it as having that much benefit. Papanka Dhamma, tanha, mana, and ditthi, dies by discerning this point. As ditthi and tanha are extinguished, mana will also be extinguished. You don't have to make it happen. You only know what the khandha has told you. If you make it happen, then it's not insight. You have to listen to what the Dhamma is telling you. This is the matter of observation of whatever khandha tells you. Khandha tells the right thing. What you make is wrong. It'll become one's own seeing by observing with nana the Dhamma. Vipassana is observing anicca without break. Its process is also non-stop. The views of stable, constant, governable die away by discerning anicca. Ignorance ceases by seeing what has not been seen before. Not wanting this khandha and seeing only deaths causes tanha to die. It becomes visible here and now, sandithiko, by seeing it yourself. The death of tanha, upadana, and kamma is akaliko, non-temporal or without delay. On the other side, no khandha arises, birth, aging, and death. This is nibbana. Ehi passako equals Dhamma is calling you to come and contemplate me. The arising mind is the caller and you are the contemplator. It's asking you to come and see what is happening to it. Dhamma shows us 2 points. First it shows you anicca and then it will show nibbana. Dhamma Talks by Mogok Sayadaw. 29th to the 30th of October 1961. Faith in Kamma and Dukkha Sacca. Tape 1. I am worried about you that the khandha encounters the Buddha Sasana, but not the knowledge, nana, encounters it. Then you're still outside the Sasana. That people are only satisfied with Kammasakata nana means the khandha only meets with Sasana and not nana meets it. There are 2 nanas, belief in Kamma and its results, and its Dukkha Sacca. With nana and observing the khandha men and women vanish and its true nature arises. Itching, pain, etc., arise and vanish. There are vibrations, sensations, here, vibrations there, and mind phenomena arise and vanish. Therefore, whatever arises from the khandha is rising and falling. Khandha tells you that I am Dukkha Sacca, the truth of being disgusting and useless. Nana is nodding its head with observation. This is the knowledge of knowing the truth. You have to take the Sakkanalomika nana as the main point. The arising and vanishing of phenomena that do not exist is the truth of cessation, nirodha Sacca, which nana discerns it. Otherwise, you don't see the beginning and also not see its ending. This is the beginning of Vipassana nana and the end of Magga nana. Good Kamma, in Burmese, good luck, is not enough for reaching Nibbana, only with good nana. They are totally different things. The Kamma, way is a supporting factor, condition, and the nana way is a producing factor. In this case, Kamma and nana are together. Kamma can't cut off Kamma, but nana, Magga nana, can cut off Kamma. Sakkanalomika nana is the task of putting nana effort on the khandha. Only from that darkness does dawn arise. Kammasakata nana is still in the darkness. If dawn arises, the sun will come out. The knowledge of seeing and knowing anicca is the knowledge of the dawn arising. The darkness of ignorance prevents you from seeing what the khandhas have. If it's like this, we are born in the darkness and die in the darkness, and don't have the chances for dawning. In this life, if with the dawning, in the next life the sun will come out. You don't have to worry. Sayadawji's guarantee gives us a lot of strength. The Buddha himself also mentioned this point in a sutta. However, it's more likely to die with anicca. You all have to be glad about it, i.e., discern anicca. The important point is, don't let your death come before dawn. It means discerning anicca quicker is better. Go and observe the eyeless earthworms. They don't know where the chicken is and are going towards the chicken. Why is that? Because they were born in the darkness and live in the darkness. The objects of children and possessions represent darkness. If you pay attention to them, Sakkanalomika Nana disappears and you can fall into the wok, i.e., hell cauldron. You all are happy in the darkness. Only with the attainment of the path knowledge, Magga Nana, will you never be in darkness and stumble on things. Sayadaw continued with the Mahavadala Sutta, Sutta number 43, Majjhima Nikaya. This sutta features the question and answer session between Mahakotika and Sariputta. Q. Who is the one who is unwise? With reference to what is this said, one who is unwise. Closing parenthesis. One who doesn't know Anicca Dukkha Sacca. In essence, one who doesn't know the Four Noble Truths. Q. Who is the one who is wise? With reference to what is this said, one who is wise. Closing parenthesis. The one who knows the Four Noble Truths. If someone discerns Anicca, he'll become wise. Q. Vijnana, consciousness, and Panna, wisdom, are known to be the same. What are the differences between them? Wisdom is to be developed and consciousness is to be fully understood. Wisdom is the right view. Hence, it needs to be developed. Consciousness is among the 5 khandhas that pertain to the Dukkha Sacca, and it has to be fully understood with the 3 universal characteristics, as in constant, dukkha, and non-self. Note, Sayadaw never uses a sutta fully. He only takes some points to explain his talks. Those who want to know the sutta fully, please check the sutta. Tape 2. These 2 talks are based on the Mahavadala Sutta. Ditthi, the wrong view arranges the sufferings of the woeful existences, apayas. Sayadaw talked about some of the sufferings of ghosts and animal lives. Ditthi is ekomi atta, clinging to the 5 khandhas as my atta, self. Ditthi is making the whole body as me with no spaces left over for a small needle hole. The whole body is bound by ditthi rope, making sama ditthi nana unable to enter it. If you bind a living being with ditthi rope and float it down in the Tanna river, even if he meets with a raft or river bank, he can't climb on it. Which one of them do you fear? Ditthi, rope, or Tanna, water? After you kill ditthi, Tanna is still left. If you find the bank, you can still climb on it. Therefore, ditthi is the most fearful entity that the first path knowledge has to eradicate. The second and third path knowledges have to eradicate Tanna. Only ignorance dies with the last path knowledge. Note, before Mogok Dhamma, it was very rare to talk about the dangers, destruction, and their serious and terrible effects on humans. We can discern the dangers, destruction, and sufferings around the world today. Ditthi Tanna, or the capitalist syndrome, or the global money syndrome of insatiable growth, profits, competition, etc., is the main cause of these things happening. We can also feel Sayadaw's great compassion for humans to transcend ditthi. All of his Dhamma talks never stray from the eradication of the wrong views and Tanna, especially ditthi. At least, he planted the seed of wisdom into the hearts of his listeners. If ditthi dies, beings will not be pulled into a whirlpool and cannot sink downwards to apayas. You don't have to fear the whirlpool and the strong current of water. It's important not to be bound by ditthi, rope. For the vipassana yogis, samadhi, nana, and viriya are important. On the samadhi sharpening stone, you are sharpening the nana knife until it becomes sharper and sharper with full effort, viriya. This is a very good analogy for practicing yogis. Therefore, the samadhi factor is very important. Sayadaw continued with the Mahavadala Sutta. One who does not know the truth, Sacca, does not become a wise man or woman. Therefore, there is no wise man or woman in other teachings, secular or spiritual. Sakanalomika nana is the knowledge of cutting the rope, ditti. Wisdom, panna, is critical knowledge. In the world, people talk as if the mind itself is knowing. Ordinary knowing is vinanam, the consciousness of knowing. Panna and vinana know together or separately. Panna involves knowing with development, and vinanam is analytical knowing. Panna is a mental factor, cetasika, and vinanam is mind or consciousness. Mind and mental factors can never be separated. Panna knows the arising and vanishing, and vinanam analyzes this process. To analyze arising is to see dukkha, and to analyze vanishing is also to see dukkha. Panna and vinanam arise together. Dhamma Talks by Mogok Sayadaw. The 15th of November 1961. Dying all the time. You all are carried by the tanna water and arriving near the whirlpool to sink in. If you don't listen and practice Dhamma, it means you have no sympathy for yourself. I am exposing this point just because of your ignorance. The process really works this way. Don't give me reasons that will lead you to apayas. If it's like this, you don't have a way back to the human world. Apayas are becoming permanent homes. You don't have to follow the arrangement of Kamma. Instead, follow the arrangement of Nana. Don't be mistaken by the unreliable. I am especially urging you about this. Kamma sends you towards the dangers of aging, sickness, and death. Nana sends you towards freedom from aging, sickness, and death. You have to follow the leadership of the right view. Apart from Nibbana, there are no places free from diseases. This point referred to Ven. Bhikkhu, who had no illness or disease in his whole life. Here, Sayadaw described humorously many foolish things done by most people. There are two kinds of death and dying, one that everyone knows and one that doesn't. For example, a mind hungry for food arises. After arising, if it doesn't eat, it dies, vanishes. Previously, we thought one only dies once in a lifetime. Now, we see that it dies all the time. This is where you see yourself dying. Vipassana is practicing to see one's own death. By seeing one's own death, you don't desire the next khandha. This is where tanna dies. The wrong view, which takes the khandha as stable and constant, also dies upon seeing one's death. This leads to tanna nirodho nibbanam. The cessation of craving is nibbana. Contemplating one's own death is vipassana. Knowing about oneself is vipassana. We don't know our deaths due to the stupidity of ignorance. Why don't you stop your stupidity now that you are of this old age? This is what I have to criticize you for, to the old disciples. Because of ignorance, it connects to life. Bhava, see the DA. Chart. You send metta, loving kindness, goodwill, and also perform the task of sympathizing with oneself. If not, you say one thing and do another. When you send metta for yourself to be free from dangers, as in, aham avero homi, may I be free from dangers, you do whatever tanna asks of you for your family members. When people are sick, nobody can save another. For example, if one spouse is sick. Only this practice can save oneself. Dukkha and Kamma. Burmese, male and female followers, observing one's death is not tiring at all. I am teaching you to observe death and its replacement. You discern your death, its disenchantment, and its ending. If you can decide that it is truly dukkha sacca, then it is nibbana. This is a humorous talk on ignorance, avidya. Dhamma Talks by Mogok Sayadaw. The 15th of November 1961. Humans take dukkha as sukha. Discerning things by yourself means seeing through Nana. This Khandha is the connection of cause and effect of Patthana Khandha, conditional relations, dependent co-origination Khandha, and Sacca Khandha, Samadaya and Dukkha. If you still have not found a teacher, you only have these truths, Dukkha and its cause. These are fuel and fire burning around within you. Turning around with burning and emptying, etc., is called samsara. In this world, craving, tanha, requires having more and more things. This is called happiness. In reality, it is suffering. How do you live in samsara? This is like the ignorance, avidya, of the owner of the ox cart asking the driver, tanha, to always use the suffering ox, the samsaric traveler, i.e., a good analogy. In samsara, the ox always dies from exhaustion due to being overburdened. This is you never owning, or, having seen sanditthiko before, not seeing the reality by oneself. Someone without possessions, grimaced person, thinks about and takes Sukha as Dukkha and wants to die, takes wealth and possession or power as Sukha and, without any of them, as Dukkha, so this person doesn't want to live on. But someone with possessions, smiling person, takes Dukkha as Sukha, the opposite of the above person. Humans are getting lost. It makes me remember Tibetan yogi Milarepa's words. If you have more Dukkha. Having little, you have little Dukkha, and with none, you have no more Dukkha. What he taught was how he lived it. He only possessed a small bowl for eating and a piece of white cloth to cover the body. True happiness only comes from the purity of mind. Arahants are the true happiest people in the world. Wandering in samsara, there are only smiles and grimaces. To put an end to the Dhamma of smiling and grimacing, there is only sanditthiko, visible here and now. If you are skillful and have this one, you'll become a stream enterer. The grimaced person is an Atta Kilamathanu Yoga yogi and the smiling person is a Kamma Sukali Kanu Yoga yogi, Karma yogi. Neither the smiling nor the grimaced person is a Majjhimapatipada yogi. The smiling and grimaced people can't see Dukkha Sacca, they can only see ghosts, animals, hell fire, and walk. Someone walking between these two extremes can discern it. In the cycle of existence, we have never traveled the middle path, and thus we are still not liberated. When the Dhamma calls us, we sometimes follow Karma Sakalika and sometimes Atta Kilamatha, i.e., greed and anger, lobha and dosa. We cannot follow it correctly and have never been in the middle of the way. We have been on the wrong path. We should not follow lobha and dosa but instead follow the magga. For example, if you have an itch on the body, don't respond with your hand. When you follow with nana, ehi pasako is the caller with anicca, and the following nana is the discernment of sanditthika. Lobha and dosa do not arise, and this is the middle way. If you follow the middle way, then you are sure to achieve nibbana. Your discernment of anicca dukkha sacca with nana magga sacca is the middle way of seeing the truth. If you can follow behind ehi pasako, the calling with sanditthiko for discerning is the true middle way. Mind, feeling, whatever Dhamma is calling at you with its calling and vanishing is not a person, not a being, and not me. Lastly, what you must remember is that it's impossible for ehi pasako not to call you. You only become your own biggest enemy by not following it. What is the reason to become your enemy? Because you're forgetful or heedless. Heedlessness is avidya. Avidya right-pointing arrow, sankhara right-pointing arrow, etc. CDA. Chart, if you can follow its calling, and tanha, mana, and ditthi die by magga coming in.